to part 3 or webinar 3 of the Health and Wellbeing BSBPEF401 unit. In the last webinar, we were able to get through most of the negative impacts and strategies for physical well-being and the workplace and professional impacts on mental well-being. But I'd like to start this webinar by talking about some of the personal impacts that we can have on our own mental health and well-being. And then we might dive into looking at some of the resource websites that you can use in your assessments and developing your wellbeing plan. So what we'll start with is talking about some of the negative impacts that we can have on our own mental well-being. I wanted to start with self-talk. So this is something that I'm sure we all do. And sometimes even I find myself saying things to myself that I would never say to anybody else. And I think we really need to do a check on ourselves sometimes and think about the way that we're talking to ourselves. You're not good enough. You didn't do that right. How could you be so silly? We wouldn't necessarily talk to other people when they make a mistake like that. So it's really important that we extend that kindness and how we would respond to others to ourselves as well. The support network you have around you, perhaps your family, you may not have that supportive family base. Maybe you're in a different state like I am. I have my parents and my brother in another state of Australia. So that was really quite challenging when I first moved away, and that can have obviously a negative impact on your well-being and how you're coping in situations, especially if your family was quite a strong foundation for supporting you emotionally when things were perhaps challenging. Your friend circle, ensuring you have those positive influences around you, but sometimes that's not always the case, and that can have a negative impact on feeling a sense of belonging and feeling supported. Financial pressures, perhaps you are on your own and you're trying to balance work, study, and having a place to live and what have you. Perhaps you have children as well. So those financial pressures at different parts of your life. Different responsibilities you may have. Perhaps you're a working mum, or you're trying to get a qualification while you're working and you've also got children, or perhaps you're holding down 2 jobs while you're studying as well. These are all things that will have an impact on your health and well-being. And perhaps there are family issues happening in the background that aren't always easy to keep at home. Sometimes they follow you wherever you go. So your emotional well-being can be impacted in that way. And whilst it is diet, I mean, it is more so your physical well-being, but thinking, lack of exercise, poor diets, poor sleep, that can all have an impact on your mental well-being, health and well-being. So moving on to how we can nurture our own mental health. I'm not going to go too deep into this because there are so many amazing websites and there's so much information nowadays for a push for positive mental health activities. So I'm going to touch on a few now, and I thought what I might do is actually talk about a study that was conducted, a research project that was undertaken by ECA, which is Early Childhood Australia, on behalf of the Department of Education and Training in October 2021, which explored factors that support resilience and wellbeing for early childhood educators. Through surveys and interviews, educators shared their strategies that they found most helpful in building their own resilience and wellbeing in both their personal and professional lives. And I just thought I would share these with you because I've found it quite interesting. And none of this is going to be a surprise. So the top 4 wellbeing strategies early childhood professionals used in their personal lives were connecting with friends and family, getting adequate sleep, engaging in relaxation activities, and that might be yoga, meditation, Pilates, walking along the beach, breathing, doing breathing exercises, listening to calm music before bedtime, journaling, in a gratitude journal, and regular exercise. So I don't think any of those 4 strategies are surprising. And this is in their personal lives. In their professional lives, the top 5 strategies that educators used were focusing on their purpose and important work with children. So why are you doing this? What is it about the work that can make you feel fulfilled? Staying in that moment with the children and just experiencing the joy that the children do, and experiencing that alongside them. And how that you're going to have a positive impact on their social, emotional, physical well-being. Engaging in ongoing professional learning was another strategy. Maintaining a work-life balance, and that's working, but also doing those things on the previous slide as well. Making sure that you're looking after yourself, because you can't pour from an empty cup. Okay, so you need to make sure that you fill your cup before you're able to fill other people's cups. Having a strong team that works together and connecting with a network of peers, and colleagues. So feeling that sense of belonging within your sector, within your workplace, and feeling that you belong to something bigger. I wanted to talk a little bit about smiling. We all know that smiling makes us feel good when we do it, and usually if we're smiling, it does mean we feel good. But there are other benefits to smiling. So I just wanted to say, smiling has benefits on our pain threshold. It reduces the effects of pain. It helps us be more successful because those who smile are more content and successful. It helps us to reduce stress because of the hormones that are released, reduce anxiety and lower our blood pressure, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. We live longer. Smiling can add 7 years to your life. I believe that. I thought that was really amazing. And a stronger immunity. Smiling boosts your immune system, so keeps our bodies healthier. So if none of these strategies are working, how about you start smiling more, because that might certainly help. And I mean, even when I talk now, when I smile, I feel happy, and it feels good to smile. So smile more. There's a simple strategy, which I know can be challenging sometimes when you're not feeling it. But put a smile on put your best smile on every day, so they say. Another thing just to quickly touch on, and I'm not going to go into be too technical, but these are happy chemicals. So what does that mean? So you would have heard words like endorphins and serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin. They're chemicals that our body produce to so that we achieve a certain level of mood, or to kill the pain, or it's dopamine, the reward chemical. So this has an impact on how we're feeling and our moods, and and what we're experiencing in any given moment. But there are ways that you can get the most out of these chemicals and boost them. So for the painkiller, which is endorphins, getting those endorphins through your bodies, exercise, commit random acts of kindness, massage and essential oils, laughter with loved ones, watch a comedy, eat dark chocolate. Serotonin, how do you stabilize your mood and start to feel good? Get some sunlight. So go for a walk on your lunch break. Practice gratitude. Be thankful for things throughout the day. Go on a run, ride a bike, swim, engage in meditation. It's not for everyone, but if you can do it, it has amazing benefits for your mind and your body. Reward your progress for dopamine, that reward chemical. Reward your progress. Practice self-care. Complete your tasks. Do those to-do lists where you can cross them off, highlight them, tick them, whatever sort of floats your boat. But have those things and those strategies in place so you gain that sense of achievement and that you've completed things throughout the day. oxytocin, the love hormone. When you're engaging with children, be in that present moment with them and experience the joy that they're feeling. Listen to meaningful music, offer up compliments to people, hug somebody, play with your pet, or have a think about some of those old happy memories. But there's small things that you can do to help boost some of these happy hormones, to make you feel better within yourself. Okay, so creating a wellbeing plan. What I'm going to do now is, before we go on to the wellbeing plan, I'm going to talk about the project assessment. Okay, so part, jump too far ahead. So part one, which is review the health and wellbeing framework. The three of these webinars should help you to identify factors that might impact on your personal life. So this might be a lack of time due to work schedule, sports schedule. It might be that you perhaps don't have time to exercise or meditate or do these wonderful things. So what are those factors that are impacting on your life? Do you have things happening at home? Do you not eat well? Do you not sleep well? So you need to be identifying those factors that are impacting on your personal life. And then talk about and explain how these are impacting on your personal well-being. So perhaps it's you're not getting enough sleep. So you perhaps might talk about how this has an impact on your alertness, your ability to focus and concentrate and feel good about the day ahead because you're feeling so tired. So that's just an example, but you might have something differently. And throughout the last webinar, some things might have been a light bulb to you, and you might have thought, yeah, maybe that's why I'm feeling that way. And when I checked in myself this afternoon, when I did the first webinar, I was feeling tired or I was feeling hungry. But we don't stop and check in on ourselves enough, I don't think, so that we can be more in tune with our bodies and how we're feeling and what we need. Then it asks you to identify situations, and this basically just means that what are the situations that could cause you stress within the workplace? So what is it? Is it that perhaps it was a busy day, there were staff illnesses, so you didn't get your planning time? So therefore the impact of that not getting your planning time might be that you're feeling now under pressure because your workload and your documentation continues to. Perhaps it's challenging conflicts between children, or perhaps it's you're interrupted during your work break. So you need to identify a situation that poses some stress either on your physical or emotional well-being. Work environment factors. So what we expect is that you identify at least one work environment factor that could affect your physical health. So that might be have a think about the equipment that's in the environment. Have a think about any outdoor or indoor hazards that might be present within the environment. Habits, the procedure for risk assessments. So have a think of what are the factors within the work environment that will impact on your physical health. Do you work in the baby's room? Is there a lot of lifting? When you're gaining resources, are they up on high shelves for you to restock the environment? So have a think about what it is within the environment. And then also mental health in part D. So that could be, work pressures, time, have you. So when you're thinking about task 2 and you're thinking about research resources to support your health and well-being, this is where you have to outline a technique. And when we ask for a technique, what we're talking about is a technique that helps you to manage your own physical health. So, for example, it might be about physical fitness, healthy diet, and adequate sleep. So you need to find resources and websites that will support you to develop strategies. So, for example, You might think about becoming, for physical, you might think about joining a gym to engage in yoga and relaxation to stretch your body to manage with those physical challenges of throughout the day. Or perhaps it might be to eat well and eat better. So there's plenty of websites that you might be able to find, or reputable websites that you might be able to find information. And there are many available through the assessment tasks in your student workbook. So I'd encourage you to go to those resources. But there are also some other websites that you could use that I have up on the screen now. So Planning for Wellbeing, Mine, Yours and Ours, which is an Early Childhood Australia article. And that has a lot of links to some amazing resources that you can help you develop those strategies. The Early Childhood Educator Wellbeing Project is another great place, and that's a link on Facebook. So Facebook might be a bit old for you guys, but it might be helpful. You guys are all on Instagram and what have you. Some of us are still on Facebook. Fatigue Management, Thrive at Work is another website that you could visit. BU is amazing. They have a lot of strategies and for both physical, mental, social well-being. So I would really encourage you to go to the BU website because they have a lot of links to resources that can help you. The Black Dog Institute is another one. You might look at applications like the Calm app. That's something I use. That might help if you decide that you, with a physical technique is ensuring that you get enough sleep. And that might be that you need to implement some relaxation music before going to bed. So you might visit the Calm app to give you some information about how that might be effective for you and what kind of music or story you might listen to before going to bed. So that's a resource that you could use. So the technique is what it is you're going to do. So listen to relaxation music, you know, use it up. You use the Calm app to before bed. Then the source of information, where did you find the information out? So it might be you would go to the Calm app and you would talk about, you would provide a link and talk about the information. Or it might be you might find information about why adequate sleep is important, excuse me. And then a summary of the information gathered. So what have you found out about why sleep is important and why using relaxation before sleep would help? Okay, so you need to do at least 2 techniques for your physical well-being, and you need to do 2 techniques for managing your own mental well-being. So you need to show resources for both of those. Okay, so part 2 for this project assessment is the developing a personal wellbeing plan. Now, it is fairly self-explanatory. So you go through the motions of developing your personal goals. So that's at least one for one for physical well-being, and it's one for mental well-being. So again, the physical well-being might be to get more sleep. There's many out there. Like I said, please go back through the webinar and through your student workbook to find out what resonates most with you. It might be about your diet. It might be about exercise. It might be about sleep. So you might have a think about some of those. So you'll develop a goal with that, and it might be to increase my hours of sleep, which would probably be my personal goal. And then you need to develop one for mental health, and it might be to ensure I practice 10 minutes of meditation in the morning. That could be a goal. These are just examples. Please use what resonates most with you and what you find you need most. The strategies, you need to then identify 2 strategies for each. So to get more sleep, like I said before, I might use a Calm app to help me fall asleep at night, and I may stop all scrolling on devices at, just say, 9 o'clock. Okay, so there's 2 strategies that I might use for that. And then for the meditation, it might be to download and have a meditation app like the Calm app, or there are many, many others that you can use. You might find something, if you have a music app, you will find something on Spotify or any of those kind of music apps that you might use, and download music. And you might also get up 15 minutes earlier so that you have that time to meditate in the morning, or perhaps you're going to do 10 minutes of meditation on your lunch break. So however you decide, but make sure that you have 2 strategies for each of those. Organizational resources that might help you. So you need to identify the resources that you will need to carry out the physical and mental health plan. So it could be, you might need an alarm clock, you might need a phone with the application, you might need headphones, you might need a yoga mat, you might need a copy of, if you're thinking about diet, you might have a copy of the healthy food pyramid. I'm not sure, but you'll need to list the resources that you're going to need so that you can actually put your plan into practice. It might be a calendar. So then you need to write the expected date of implementation. So it might be, on this date, between this time, I'm going to do this. Okay. And then I'm going to continue that for this day, and this day. Okay, so you need to be quite specific, and what your expected outcome will be. So it might be to have to gain adequate sleep, to gain minimum of 8 hours per night, and to fall asleep by 10:30. Okay, so you need to list what you're hoping to achieve out of completing this plan. And what we also ask you to do is that you must identify the schedule for monitoring. So how are you going to monitor your day? Are you going to maintain a tracker, which when you're trying to form new habits can be really helpful because it makes you accountable. You can tick it off rather than saying, oh, I didn't do it that day. It's a lot more visual and it can help to keep you on track. So you're going to use a diary, a calendar, a visual tracker. How are you going to monitor your own progress to be sure that you stay on track? And task 2, it does ask you to develop a planner, and they do have an example planner there, and that's where you can fill in all of your activities that you're going to do for your wellbeing plan. So that's developing. I know I've gone through it quite quickly, but I think it's fairly self-explanatory. I'm sure your contact teacher will be able to help you if you have any more questions. But a lot of the information that we've gone through in these webinars will help you to develop those plans, but use the websites that we've suggested and that are suggested through your student workbook, as well as looking at the ideas. It is all in the workbook. So especially, I think it's page, if I go back to the other slide, I think I wrote, I think it's page 23 that will help you with developing your plan in the student workbook. So I suggest you do have a look at that. Now, in the workplace portfolio assessment, in part 2, you are asked to reflect, modify, and evaluate your plans. So reflect on the goals and how you have been working towards meeting your goals. Describe the effectiveness of your strategies. So are these working well? If not, why not? So you are actually asked to evaluate your own progress throughout those wellbeing plan. And I think the questions are quite easy to follow. But again, if you do have any difficulties, please seek out the support of your teacher. But I think with the information throughout the webinars, your student workbooks and the resources, websites that we've provided you, you should be able to have a good understanding of or be able to put the correct information into your assessment task. So hopefully you found these 3 webinars helpful. I will spend the last minute taking you to the BU website. So just give me a minute and I'll share the page. Okay, so if you'd like to stay on the webinar, by all means, please do. And I will just show you briefly how you can find some further information on this BU website. So it's really helpful for looking up information and tools and guides on educator wellbeing. So if you go to resources and you scroll down to educator wellbeing, you can sign up to this. Anyone can sign up to this. Then you can see that there are some recordings, there are some fact sheets, there is some professional learning. So if you're wanting to look a little bit further, because these tools are definitely for services, but by all means, as an individual, I'd encourage you to have a look at them. Let's have a look at some of the fact sheets. So you can see here, it talks about things like stress, and it talks about some services that can support you. Developing a healthy culture, how educators can help. So thinking about when it's asking you questions, your assessment tasks are asking you questions about how the workplace can support your mental and emotional well-being. Here are some strategies that you might be able to look at and think about. Self-care, you do you. So I talked about some of these strategies throughout the webinar, but here are some more. So I would encourage you all to go onto this BU website because there's a lot of information and support on here that will help you move through the assessment tasks as well. Okay, a lot of information for educators. So thank you again for being part of the webinar series, and I wish you all the best for this unit. Thank you.